I want to now give an example walkthrough of an operations workflow improved with AI plus automation. In many small and medium enterprises, operational work becomes difficult not because any single step is complicated, but because work crosses people and systems. There's handoffs, there's admin, there's follow-ups, and there's exceptions. So in this video, I'll walk through an operations workflow improved with AI plus automation, internal reference example. I'll focus on the handoffs that typically create delays, how reliability is designed into the workflow, how exceptions are handled, and where human review remains important. It's not a client case study, it's an internal reference example designed to be familiar for anyone who's used to running day-to-day operations. So here's the pattern looks like this. A customer asks for a booking, a change, or an update. Someone checks constraints and availability, another person confirms details, and the systems are updated, often more than once, and follow-up is required if the customer doesn't respond. And exceptions stall the flow. Now, even if each step is small, the volume and repetition creates a steady admin load. So there's 3 friction points that show up repeatedly. These are handoffs with unclear ownership. Work moves between people, but it's not always clear who owns the next action. 2, there's repeated admin preparation. So information is retyped, reformatted, or chased across messages and systems. Thirdly, follow-up that depends on many. Busy teams don't ignore follow-up on purpose. It simply competes with everything else. So the improvement approach, the aim is to make the workflow easy to operate, not make it more complex. So we use a simple pattern. One system becomes a system of record for the job or ticket. And ideally, that's an existing system in your business. Every request becomes an owed item with a clear next action. AI assists with triage, summarising, and drafting. Automation handles routine updates and reminders. And exceptions are explicitly flagged and routed to a person. So let's look at an example workflow. The request arrives. The email or form is captured and attached to existing job or ticket where possible. AI produces a short summary and extracts key fields: customer on site, requested date or change, constraints mentioned, and a simple classification. Routing then assigns an owner, and that would usually depend on the classification. For example, scheduling for booking changes or operational lead for unusual constraints. Fourth, a draft response is created for review. The draft confirms what was requested, asks for missing details, and sets expectations for the next step. Step 5, an automation updates systems. Depending on the business, this may include calendar placeholders, job status updates, notifications to the right person, and a follow-up timer. 6, exceptions are handled explicitly. So whether these be unclear access conditions or missing information or whatever, it triggers a review. The workflow makes that visible and assignable. Now, reliability of such a workflow comes from a few key practical decisions. These include keeping categories small. A short category list improves routing accuracy and reduces edge case confusion. Drafting first for custom messages. Draft first keeps quality high and makes review routine. Making ownership explicit. Every stage has an owner and a next action, so nothing sits in limbo. Then defining done for each stage is also important. This prevents a case drifting between in progress and waiting without clarity. Human in the loop, where a review belongs. Now, human review is a sensible control, particularly when decisions change business commitments. People should typically decide exceptions that to timing or service level commitments, anything involving pricing adjustments, refunds or penalties, safety and access situations that require judgment, and high-value customers or situations where the tone of the response really matters. AI and automation reduce preparation time around these decisions. They don't remove the decision. Measurement is usually straightforward. It's the time from request to confirmation, number of handoffs per request, the follow-up timeliness, the exception rate and exception types, and the reopen rates, cases that were closed but had to be revisited. These help you tune the workflow, the categories, the routing rules, the templates, and follow-up timing. Now, I know this is getting pretty technical, but when we think about this up front, it helps us build automations that work for your business. Here's a practical internal scenario that may mirror what you've seen in your operations team. So a team manages a rolling schedule and receives a steady stream of booking changes and operational questions. The difficult part isn't a single request. The difficult part is that requests arrive while people are mid-task, and each request requires reading a thread, locating the relevant job, checking constraints, drafting a response, updating one or two systems, and remembering to follow up. In a well-designed flow, the team doesn't have to hold the entire process in their heads. The system holds the state. The request is attached to the job, the next action is clear, and a follow-up timer exists regardless who is busy today. This reduces the background mental load that operational teams carry, makes performance more consistent. So what to clarify before building a workflow, an AI workflow? These questions reduce rework. What system should be the system of record? Who owns the workflow after go live? What are non-negotiable business roles? What are the common exceptions? Which customer-facing outputs need review? And what is the expected response time standard? Answering these upfront keeps implementation controlled and keeps the workflow aligned to the business. So if you'd like a practical view on which workflow to start with, book in a 15-minute call using the link below. We'll clarify priorities and outline sensible next steps, which may include an AI audit. So to recap, operations workflows often suffer from handoffs, admin preparation, and inconsistent follow-up. AI can assist with summarization, field extraction, and drafting. Automation can handle routine updates and reminders, and reliability comes from clear ownership and explicit exception handling. This is what an operational workflow improvement should feel like: calmer, clearer, and easier to run, while keeping judgment with people and using AI to reduce repeated preparation work. Thanks.